This week on Vice, forced labor in Dubai.
The Trump International Golf Club, is that where you worked recently?
And then the impact of China's massive investment in Africa.
And what did you think when you first moved here?
Very free country.
C'est comme si le gouvernement nous a amenés encore et nous a fait nous recoloniser encore.
Vice correspondent Ben Anderson first reported on slave labor in the United Arab Emirates 8 years ago.
And see what conditions are like on this, which is one of the most high-profile projects in the whole of Dubai.
During a recent investigation, he discovered some of the worst conditions he'd ever seen on a development bearing the name of a man who just might be our next president.
The United Arab Emirates, and Dubai in particular, are often sold as a paradise in the Middle East, home to the world's largest and most luxurious malls, hotels and golf courses, promising unprecedented luxury for the few who can afford it.
So this is Sheikh Zayed Road, one of the most famous landmarks in Dubai. Billions and billions of dollars of real estate, and then literally in the shadows of that is this slum. So the hundreds of thousands of men who actually built Dubai, this is where they live.
The UAE's record on migrant workers' rights is well known, so we started our investigation by looking at NYU. When they were enticed into Abu Dhabi, they established their own labour standards so that subcontractors building their campus would treat their workers fairly. Those standards were tested when one group of workers went on strike. They lived 2 hours' drive away from the campus site in Dubai.
So this is one of the many labour camps in Dubai, and there are just dozens of huge buildings that look like a cross between warehouses and prisons. This is the Dubai that most tourists who come never see.
Striking is strictly illegal in the UAE, but these workers eventually felt like they had no other option.
जो 572 दराम इतने कमती में कोई भी 8 साल 7 साल काम किया है हम लोग गाधा के तरह करते जा रहे हैं.
So can you describe how the company reacted when you went on strike?
4 आइटम का पुलिस आया, पूरा बॉडी काला कपड़ा डालकर आया, पूरा पिस्तौल ये लोग के पास है, मशीन गन है, सब कुछ है, किसी के पास डंडा है.
पुलिस तो सबको पकड़ के एक ही जगह में लेके आया था. जब नहीं आ रहा था, कुछ इधर-उधर जा रहा था डर के, वो लोग को पकड़ के मारा है. वो लोग बोला कि ऐसे यहाँ पे कानून नहीं है, स्टेक करने का, स्टेक करेगा तो तुम लोग को कुछ नहीं मिलेगा करके 3-4 दिन पहले फिर बांग्लादेश में.
Most workers have to take out loans to get to the UAE. Being deported means going home saddled with debt and no way of paying it off. The strike was covered by the New York Times a week before a lavish commencement ceremony featuring former President Bill Clinton, who was forced to address the issue.
When this story came out, the university and the government promised to look into the charges, and if the charges were well-founded, to take appropriate remedial action promptly.
What the government actually did was call the journalist who broke the story in for questioning.
Well, I was told to meet the spokesperson for Abu Dhabi Police in a bar.
You recorded this meeting?
The article in the New York Times, it lacks so many professional standards.
After letting him know he was in trouble, they offered a way out.
Sean, I'm a straightforward man. We like to build relationships with some reporters. We are expecting something back from you.
As you can see here in the transcript, the police chief wanted a monthly report. Any foreign journalists who are coming to the UAE, I was to write a report on why they're in the UAE, what their agenda was.
So you'd be spying on foreign journalists as well?
Yes, yeah.
But what happened? You said to them, you're not accepting the offer?
I mean, I said, yeah, I listened to it and everything, and then I left the country pretty soon after that, and then when I came back, I was arrested at the airport, and then I was deported.
After commissioning an independent report, NYU admitted real lapses and promised to pay compensation to 10,000 workers. The UAE is run by absolute monarchies. With no freedom of expression and no right to protest or form unions, it's routine to exploit the labourers who are building almost $400 billion worth of construction projects currently underway in Dubai alone. There are roughly 5 million migrant workers in the UAE, making up over half the population. Some of these workers let us into their homes, but to keep them safe, we had to conceal their identities.
So this is 2 buildings with a bit of corrugated iron across the middle. This is the communal kitchen washing area. There's 7 bedrooms with between 15 and 20 workers per room.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
And 5 people waiting outside. So when some people leave, other people come in and take their place on the floor.
They gave us 70 dirham per day. This room we gave 3,200 dirham per month. We are not able to work with another company to make more money. Because we will work with another company, she will be cut us and cancel
the visa
and no entry.
In the next room, we met workers who had similar stories, but were working for a subcontractor building a golf course bearing the name of one of America's leading presidential candidates.
There is a big development called the Trump International Golf Club. Is that where you worked recently? Is this the entrance?
Yeah.
When you were at home in Pakistan, what were you told that made you want to come to Dubai?
10 रुपए घंटा मिलेगा आपको, रूम मिलेगा, गैस मिलेगा, 8 घंटे ड्यूटी और 2 घंटा ओवरटाइम मिलेगा, लेकिन हमको नहीं मिला। 60 रुपए क्या बनेगा 5 रुपए?
If you could have anything, all you would want is to be promised the 10 dirhams per hour, that's $3 roughly, instead of the 5 dirhams, $1.50 that you are being paid. That's all you ask for. Did you have to pay a visa fee?
4,500.
So at the money you're being paid now, how long will it take you just to pay off the visa fee?
2 साल वास्ते नਵੇਂ लोगों तो पैसे दे 2,000 रुपया.
So that's 2 years' work just to break even. And these men are charged nearly another year's salary for a visa renewal fee. Charging the workers these fees is illegal here in the UAE.
Why don't you just go home if you're not actually making money here?
जो जाएगा वो तो आएगा पैसा दो, हमारे पास होगा तो देगा ना, टिकट के पैसे नहीं क्या करेगा?
And there's another illegal but commonly used tactic for subcontractors to keep the workers in place.
How many of you, when you arrived, had your passports taken away by the company?
Total बंदे passport होने को है.
These workers now find themselves trapped and working on a development which bears both Trump's name and face, helping to sell the $1 million plus homes that will soon be complete. Trump himself came to formally launch the project.
We're building Trump International Golf Club, and it's going to be spectacular right in Dubai, and it's going to be something very, very special.
I visited the same showroom to see how it's now being sold.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. And the golf course is another Trump International Golf Course?
Yeah, Kuya has got Trump.
Does he just give his name to the development, or is he involved in...
No, it's not his name, but he's a part of it.
Right. So Trump does the bigger villas, the golf course, the clubhouse.
Also, all the villas inside in the middle, it's very big. It will be a community in which you have got everything.
In the UK, sometimes in the newspaper, you read stories about how the labourers who come from India and Pakistan, they get treated very badly.
No.
So it's important for us to know,
No, at all.
So Damak and Trump, they treat them good?
Of course.
Yeah.
We have got millions of projects, and we never had such a problem.
Never had any issues?
No.
Oh, good. We don't want to move in and then 1 year later hear a story about this,
No, at all. You know how many Indians that are coming to Dubai per you cannot imagine. And year after year, it's more and more.
Yeah.
It means that they are happy.
Dr. Nicholas McGeehan of Human Rights Watch has been documenting migrant worker abuse for over a decade. He wasn't surprised by our findings.
Almost everyone we interviewed, they sort of described being promised one thing in their home countries and then arriving and getting a nasty shock.
What happens, yes, is workers sign a contract in wherever, Bangladesh, and they arrive in the UAE, they find that they sign another contract for half what they were promised. Then their passport's taken away from them. Then their visa costs and travel costs added on. So very quickly they move from a situation where they owe double what they thought they owed and they're paid half of what they expected to be paid. Their passport's gone and they're bound to the one employer and can't change. So very quickly it starts to look like, in many cases, a trafficking network because of the deception involved in the recruitment. And when they're there, in the worst cases, you actually have workers subjected to forced labour. The workers don't want much. They just want what they were promised, which isn't a whole lot. The system has been built up in such a way that everybody knows they can make money. Nothing to be gained from being ethical. Why would you be ethical when you can make so much money from being unethical and you're never going to be prosecuted for it? The Dubai that's sold to you in tourist brochures and it's emblazoned across every building you can see or adverts, it doesn't reflect the actual reality, which is a lot darker.
Trump declined to be interviewed for this piece, but his organisation stated, Trump has licensed its name and brand. Trump does not oversee construction and does not employ or supervise any of the companies or individuals who have been retained to work on the building of the project. Trump has a zero-tolerance policy for unlawful labour practices at any project bearing the Trump name. They instead put the responsibility on Trump's UAE partner, Damac, who told us, Damac does not directly employ any labour on its developments. We contract with third-party construction and other contracting companies. The Trump organisation added that if any labour infractions were proven, they would insist that Damac investigate.
So even by the unbelievably low standards of Dubai, the guys living 18 or 21 to a villa are getting treated really, really badly. But just to make sure that the company doing that to them isn't one bad apple, I'm going to follow back a bunch of other buses ferrying workers who are still working on the Trump golf course to see how they're getting treated and see how it compares to the guys we've already met.
We followed buses full of workers as they left the site. They drove for miles out of the city and into the desert. Eventually, there wasn't even a road. After a 2-hour drive, they reached their destination. Stuck in the middle of nowhere, this camp was also awful, and we heard many of the same stories.
They're working on the golf course?
Yeah, what?
Akoya and Trump?
Yes.
Yeah.
ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਬੇਸਿਕ ਸੈਲਰੀ ਨਾ ਕੀ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੋਈ 850
How many people share this?
This is for one room. One piece.
Ah, so one gas hob with 2 things is for one room.
So this small kitchen serves roughly 150 workers.
Must be very busy in here at dinner time.
Yes.
Just outside the kitchen door was a bathroom that didn't look fit for human beings.
This is shower?
Yes, this is shower.
This is the washing area, bathroom?
Bathroom, yes.
Oh, smell the sewage. Is it better here or Pakistan? Better at home. Can you go home?
No, no.
Hello. Passport's taken?
जी, complete.
Whatever his stated level of involvement, Trump makes lots of money from licensing his name and brand to projects like this. But while that might be ethically dubious for a businessman, one would think it would raise serious questions for a presidential candidate. Meanwhile, the workers in Dubai remain trapped, with no hope that things might change.
This is the circle of the life here.
Yeah.
Nobody can oppose them, nobody can resist them. I'm away from my family. I'm missing them. They are missing me.
We have no life. We have no life.
Do you think there's any chance things will improve?
No, nil. China's economy has seen incredible growth since they embraced the free market 40 years ago. Now, one of the major factors that keeps this industrial juggernaut going is China's multi-billion-dollar trade and investment deals in developing countries in Africa. Now, that's having a huge impact on modernization efforts on the continent. But what we wanted to find out is what Africa is giving up in return.
We're in the Martyrs Stadium in Kinshasa, and one of the qualifiers for the World Cup is just about to kick appears to be working. China has leveraged its influence across the continent with these enormous gifts, surpassing Britain, France, and the US as Africa's leading foreign business partner. We spoke with Dr. Paul Tembe, a China studies analyst, about the broader implications of this phenomenon. What is the kind of scale that we're looking at when it comes to China's presence in Africa?
Economically, it's huge. Investment, development of infrastructures, extraction of resources. But when China started engaging Africa, it came into an Africa which already had relations with the West. So China had to discover weak points or business gaps.
What about politically and socially?
The two are intertwined, actually. For example, if we take traditional financial institutions like IMF, the World Bank, when they invest, they have prerequisites. They tend to be political on how Africa should govern its own territory. China doesn't have those prerequisites. That is stemming from their foreign policy of non-interference. China has become visible and very practical wherever they go. You can see it on the ground immediately.
This type of pro-Chinese influence you see all across Africa. Especially in the Congo. In Kinshasa, the Chinese-sponsored development is happening everywhere. Moise Akanga, one of the country's main negotiators with the Chinese, showed us around.
Vous avez le Palais du Peuple. Vous avez le boulevard triomphal qui a été reconstruit par les Chinois.
This is like a mini Tiananmen Square.
Yeah. Voilà, ça c'est l'hôpital du Cinquantenaire. Il n'y a pas un hôpital aussi équipé et construit en Afrique centrale comme celui-là. C'est ainsi que vous voyez qu'il y a un boom immobilier. Les Chinois qui gagnent ce marché, ils réalisent ces ouvrages à moindre coût.
So this is the project of building almost 1,000 houses.
And the project is funded by
a Chinese company, Zhengwei.
而且你的中文怎么样？
我的中文挺好。
那这么好。
是。
How much of the city is built by the Chinese?
Since 2009, it's almost 70% of building by the Chinese.
70%? That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Much of this infrastructure was funded by the $6.2 billion trade contract that was originally signed by the two governments in 2008.
Nous avons inauguré un partenariat stratégique. Nous avons constitué une joint venture. La Sycomine dispose des ressources naturelles pour leur industrie en Chine. Et les ressources, nous payons la dette sur les infrastructures et sur les projets miniers.
One of the things that the West sees is that China and the DRC are becoming closer and closer. And with that, China gets more and more power and more say over the potential politics and the direction of the country. What do you say to that?
La différence entre la Chine et les autres pays, c'est qu'avec la Chine, on ne parle pas politique. Avec la Chine, nous parlons développement.
Can we get a tour of Seco mines through you? I think you're able to arrange that for us, right?
Yes, we will do it.
Excellent. We're at the Seco Mines mine in Kolwezi, which is the biggest infrastructure for resources deal that this country's ever seen. And the scale of this is insanely huge. There are about 3,000 workers working here. They've only just started production last week, but things are well underway here. And there's a lot of Chinese people following us with cameras, scrutinizing our every move. Hi, ni hao. We're told by Mr. Moise Akanga that we had full access to this mine, and we thought we could interview the people here and talk about the deal. And it turns out that now we've got here, no one wants to go on camera to actually answer any specific questions. To find out why the Chinese workers might be hesitant to talk about Seco mines, we met with the former Speaker of Congo's Assembly, Vital Kamerhe.
10 minerais du Congo représentent 24 000 milliards de dollars américains. Il dit que ces ressources-là appartiennent au peuple congolais.
Does the average Congolese person benefit at all from this deal?
Non, absolument pas. Notre gouvernement se comporte comme un affairiste. Il signe le contrat avec la Chine, on donne pas de porte. Tous les marchés sont donnés automatiquement aux Chinois. En tout cas, pour les postes importants, ce sont les Chinois qui occupent le poste important. Puisque si on veut parler des Congolais moyens, vous voyez que ces gens vivent avec moins de $2 par jour. Il n'appartient pas aux Chinois de dire à la République démocratique du Congo ce qu'il faut faire et où. Ça, c'est la tâche du gouvernement de la République démocratique du Congo. C'est là le problème.
Contracts like the Seco Mines deal have spurred an enormous wave of Chinese investment across the continent. In the DRC, Chinese entrepreneurs are rapidly gaining ground in the mining industry.
在这里有很多中国人吗？
当然了，基本上都90%的都是中国人。
Most of these Chinese businessmen are wary of Western press. But we did find one who was happy to open up.
We are in a golf course in Congo, and I'm about to play my first game of golf ever with Mr. Tang and his friend, both of whom are Chinese entrepreneurs. I believe this is called a driver. Just practicing.
Yeah. It's not so easy, huh? Don't force yourself. Focus. Relax. Okay, it's good.
How's life for you living out here?
Yeah, life is good.
And what did you think when you first moved here? What were your impressions?
How to say it? Free. Very, very free country. 你要是在国内任何一家公司工作的话，可能都是需要一个 team 要商量要听，但是一旦你作为一家公司派到非洲来了之后，公司就靠你了，就是你的了。
Olivia Tung is the owner of Datong Steel, a company that specializes in making steel balls to pulverize raw ore.
我们工厂的话，中国人大概有10个人，然后钢方员工的话有100号人。
Can I ask how much you pay your Congolese workers?
炉钳工的话，因为他的工作比较辛苦，而且在很高温的状态下，他一般来说的话，他们的工资都是在350到500块钱之间看工龄。然后别的工人的话，大概也都在300块钱或者280块钱左右。
Is it easy to find people to come and work for that salary?
Easy. 卡松没有别的工业。
Critics have argued that the low wages Chinese companies pay are part of a broader pattern of labor exploitation. We met with a former employee of CDM, one of the biggest Chinese smelting firms in the Congo.
Moi, j'étais fondeur. Température à 1600 degrés. Et puis, il est ma guêtre, baranza uleta. Aikukui guêtre iko approprié ya kutumika nayo kumoto ya ile degré. Comme exemple, nous na blurure hapa, metal irulukaka inaningia ifashi.
What was the Chinese manager's reaction when you got these burns?
Il m'avait toujours obligé à kuingia nianze tumika. Si bo wenye waanzo semaka kama unachoka, unaacha kazi tutabeba mwingine anakuwa anatumika. Mule ni esclavagisme, haina kazi. C'est comme si le gouvernement nous a amenés encore et nous a fait nous recoloniser encore.
CDM didn't respond to our request for comment, but human rights groups have uncovered additional claims of abuse from company workers, including low pay, safety neglect, and physical abuse. A number of protests and strikes over issues like these have sprung up all over Africa, several of which have ended in violence. But that hasn't stopped the stunning pace of economic growth here. China has taken advantage of this growth by diversifying its interests into all sectors of the economy. And as cities like Nairobi solidify their positions as global capitals, it's Chinese companies that are there to help them build.
Why do you think that the Kenyan government chooses Chinese companies to build these kind of buildings?
我觉得中国企业在效率这块确实效率还是比较高的。
他非洲连飞机的全面我们中国人给他搞的是吧？哪有什么技术？像学上、医院什么等等，还有水库、发电站，这样我们都有公路，当地政府的钱的。
The centerpiece of the Kenyan development boom is the new standard gauge railway, which will run from the port city of Mombasa to the capital.
In the history of the country of Kenya, this is the biggest ever project that we have had. Currently, the project employs approximately 25,000 Kenyans.
How much is this project costing?
327 billion Kenya shillings. 90% of that is coming from the Export-Import Bank of China.
How big is that in the history of Kenyan loans?
It is the biggest.
Who is actually going to pay for that?
We as a country are going to eventually pay for this.
And do you think that's fair?
Fair to who?
To the Kenyans?
This is a third world country. And so what Kenyans needed was the project. And this is what they got.
But the terms of Kenya's deal with China have come in for harsh criticism from economists like David Nadie.
The Standard Gauge Railway is a bad investment because it's very expensive. Already, we have borrowed $3.6 billion, given Chinese-type lending terms. This will work out to paying $300 million a year. It's a huge amount of money for this country. I think a default is a real possibility. What does China get? These things are being built by Chinese companies using Chinese materials, Then they're financing it, so they're lending us money. So we're then going to pay back the money at interest. It's store credit.
And even though the growth of the Chinese economy has slowed, its commitment to Africa has not wavered.
中方决定提供总额600亿美元的资金支持。
President Xi Jinping announced that China would triple his country's investment in Africa to $60 billion.
The biggest project at the moment is One Belt, One Road, railroads and maritime connections going from China to all capital cities of Africa. It's a manner of extending capital across the world.
And that's exactly what China is doing, as its foreign investment model and its influence are quickly spreading around the world.
So if China continues with its non-interference policy, surely it's propping up corrupt governments throughout Africa.
The definition of a corrupt government is according to which social system. Africa's political systems have been inherited from the West. And that Western political system is not functioning for Africa.
There is no doubt that the rise of China and Africa, a country which never was our colonizer, will have a far-reaching impact in international relations. Long live the Africa-China cooperation.
What is Africa's significance when it comes to the West versus the East and the battle for ideologies?
There has been a change in the voting in the General Assembly because African countries tend to side with China. It plays into the formation of the New World Domino or New World System.
China is not a democratic country. Do you see that as playing out to be more of an issue in the future of Africa?
I think that we're starting to see the shifts in the values of democracy. And that battle for democracy is being fought now in Africa.